The doorbell rang at 11,000 to 3 p.m., and I hadn't touched it. My phone lit up with the ring alert, and the thumbnail showed the same man I'd seen twice already that week, standing under our porch light with his cap pulled low. Maria was with a nervous dog across town, but he was here again, shoulders squared like he belonged. When he leaned toward the camera and said, "Maria?" my mouth went dry and I felt something in me tilt, like the bus I drive when a storm wind hits the side and threatens to push it into the next lane. I thumbed open the live view and spoke through the speaker. I tried to keep my voice casual. Just another Tampa night, just another delivery gone wrong. You've got the wrong house. He flinched like the voice had touched him. Sorry, man. He stood there anyway, hands in his pockets, a long beat of not leaving. Then he looked straight into the lens and gave a nod that felt too personal. Tell her I stopped by. Tell her yourself, I said, and the words were out before I could tuck them back. The edge in them surprised me, the way anger can feel like a fever breaking. He stepped back, looked up and down the street, quiet cul-de-sac, crushed shells for mulch, the HOA-approved palms moving against the humid night, and then he walked off. I watched him cross the frame, past our hibiscus, past the mailbox with our last name and the little bus sticker Maria had bought me when I got the route supervisor nod. The camera caught his truck in the street, the license plate half tilted with a missing screw. The feed ended, the night came back. I lay there staring at the dark ceiling, the fan blades flicking shadows like slow seconds. Twice before this week, I had sat up to the same alert, same man, same time. Monday, Wednesday, now Friday. 11 p.m., like a clock, was keeping our life on a schedule I hadn't agreed to. I could pretend I hadn't seen it the other times. I could pretend it was the neighbor's friend, a lost DoorDash guy. But I had saved the logs. 3 in 1 week stops being a coincidence and starts being a pattern, and patterns are what I notice for a living. You don't drive a city bus for 20 years without learning to read routes, faces, timing. The way folks say they're headed one way and keep looking back. At 11:27, my phone buzzed again. Maria, still at the client's. This poor dog is a mess. I might crash here on the couch. It was the kind of text I used to smile at. She had the kind of big heart that keeps room for strays and people who make too many mistakes. That's why our garage had become a half shelter. A stack of donated food bags with donors' names written in Sharpie on the sides, blankets, a folding crate. Just until the weekend, she'd say, which was fine because weekends come fast and go faster. Lately, though, I had started counting how often just until the weekend became I'll pick it up next week, and how often the next week got crowded. Okay, I typed. Then I deleted it. I took a breath and typed, what's the address? I sat there with my thumb hovering and saw myself in the black reflection of the screen. Heavy eyes. Brow like a cracked sidewalk. I deleted the question and wrote, okay, be safe. In the morning, I found 2 flattened cardboard boxes on the back seat of my car. The boxes used to be full of dog food, branded with the Rescue Drive logo from Suncoast Pets, the same logo on half the stacks in our garage. The tape was still on them. They had been folded neat, as if whoever carried them away had a plan for their disappearance. The back seat smelled like a man's cologne, deep and woodsy, not like my deodorant, and not like the clean soap smell I associate with Maria. The detail lodged in me like a burr. It wasn't proof by itself, not in a courtroom way, but it scratched at me every time I moved. I looked across our garage at the donors' names written on the sides of the bags. There were fewer of them than there should have been. I told myself I was mistaken. I told myself she must have delivered them straight to somebody who needed them. That was the point of a donation, right? It was meant to go out the door. At the bus depot, my brain kept chewing on it. The morning route brings a special kind of Tampa light, flat and bright like the world has been wiped clean. Bays mash into concrete, a haze lifts off the bay, ibis peccet scraps by the 7-Eleven. The city gets moving in that stubborn way it does after a long, hot night. I opened the Ring app at a red light and scrolled through the log again. The thumbnail of the man at 11,003 looked like a still image from a story I didn't know I was in. His cap, the curve of his jaw, the almost smirk under the brim. You could say it was a delivery guy. You could say anything until you couldn't. At lunch, I sat in the break room with my tuna sandwich and watched the clip for the 4th time. Hank, one of the older drivers, came in and saw the look on my face. He's got this way of tilting his head like he's lining your problem up with his own private map. You seeing ghosts or traffic? He said. Wrong house, I said without looking up. People are getting lazier with GPS, he said, but I didn't answer, and after a minute he set his coffee down and took the chair across from me. Luis? I turned the phone so he could see. He watched a few seconds. He heard the guy say, Maria, and watched him leave. You got a neighbor named Maria? He asked. No. You ask her? Ask her what? I said, and it came out sharper than I meant. Hank pushed his coffee away and folded his hands. He had drive lines deep around his mouth. Ask her what she wants you to believe. I laughed, a tight cough of a sound. She's at a client with a dog who flips out when you turn the TV off. Uh-huh. She stays over because it keeps the dog from chewing the couch. It's 30 minutes from here. Addresses are free, he said. People who love you want to be believed, but they understand why you ask. That night, I asked. I kept my voice gentle. I walked into the kitchen where she was pulling a casserole from the oven. Maria has a small frame, but everything about her feels big. The heart, the laugh, the gestures. Her hair was twisted up. There was a streak of flour across her cheek. How does a man prepare himself to be the bad guy in his own kitchen? Hey, I said. Last night I got a ring alert. Somebody rang the bell. 3rd time this week. He said your name. She set the dish down too fast, and a corner of the oven mitt touched the pan. She jerked her hand back and shook it like a dog shaking off water. Ow, she said, and then she forced a smile that was too bright. Oh, weird. Probably the guy across the street. He keeps forgetting his key and thinks I'm his wife. We look alike from the back, he says. We don't live across the street, I said. You know what I mean. He gets confused. He's older. He's 35, tops, I said. And when I told him he had the wrong house, he said to tell you he stopped by. She laughed again, less bright this time, more effort in it. Luis, you know Ring mixes up the audio sometimes, auto whatever. It's probably one of your friends messing with you. Which one has the chin beard? Hank? He looks like a Hank. I work with him, I said. He doesn't come by after 11. She reached for plates, set them down, started serving. You're taking this too serious, she said. You want to see the dog I'm helping? She chewed half a rug. Poor thing. What's the address, I asked. I'll bring coffee when I get off late. She looked at me for a long second like she was working with a new idea. Luis, this is me being kind. I know you want to be part of it, but sometimes my clients prefer privacy. They're embarrassed that they can't handle their dogs alone. I'm trying to build trust. You know how that is. Trust. It was like she handed me a word made of glass and asked me to catch it with greasy hands. Right, I said. Okay. We ate in a fog of casserole steam and the hum of the fridge. She told me funny stories about the shelter. She told me our neighbor Deanna had texted the HOA chat about a coyote near the retention pond, which was really just a big dog with a lot of opinions. I nodded and made eye contact at the right times. I said, no way, and, huh? After dinner, she went to the garage to fold laundry, and I stood in the hallway and listened to the sound of her moving bags I used to carry with her. The HOA chat blew up the next afternoon. I was on the couch with the game on mute. Our president, a retired Navy guy named Porter who wears a whistle at meetings like someone might start a fire drill, posted a blurry photo of a truck parked by the mailboxes at 11,005 the night before. Anyone know this vehicle? He wrote. We've had reports of a late-night visitor going door to door. Not cool. A few minutes later, Deanna posted a screenshot of a license plate. Caught on my ring from 2 doors down. Looks like QKF P92. My heart thumped once, hard. I opened my saved clip and paused it on the moment when the man stepped away. You couldn't see all the plate, but you could see the last 3. P92. I felt like a kid cheating on a test and finding the answer key had my handwriting. I typed into the chat, then erased it. I put the phone down, picked it up again, and swiped to Venmo. I wasn't snooping. I was checking the rent transfers, the shared groceries, the way we split date nights. That's what I told myself, even though I knew I was looking for something else. On Maria's public feed, tucked between a sushi emoji and a split bill for cat litter, were 3 payments in the last 2 weeks from someone named Evan S. Each note said dog care cash with a paw print emoji, as if the emoji made it wholesome. He wasn't in her friends list. The transactions were public by mistake or ego, I couldn't tell. I tapped the profile. His picture was a generic silhouette. I tapped the date, 11 p.m. I looked back at my ring log. 11 p.m. is when a lot of things in my life seem to happen without me. Who's Evan? I asked Maria that night. I tried to keep air in it like it was nothing. But my voice betrayed me, a small crack on the last letter. She didn't look up from her phone. Oh, a client, the anxious pit mix. Why? He paid you cash? I asked. She shrugged and moved to the fridge, the cool light painting her face. Some people don't like apps, they're old-fashioned. He isn't old-fashioned, I said. He's my age. She closed the fridge and shut the light. Luis, please, you're making this a thing. It is a thing, I said, louder than I meant. He came here. He stood on our porch and said your name. Stop, she said. Her mouth tightened. I'm doing a good thing. You're acting like I'm stealing. I'm helping animals. Do you want me to stop? No, I said. And then I said, I want you to tell me the truth. The air between us got crowded. It felt like two people trying to fit into a doorway at the same time. She set her phone on the counter and lifted her hands a little, like surrender, like prayer. The truth is, I like feeling needed, she said. Is that a crime? The shelter people make me feel like I matter. The clients appreciate me. I get paid a little. It helps. I'm not buying shoes. I'm not angry about you getting paid, I said. I'm angry about him, about the boxes disappearing from our garage, about lies with soft names. She blinked fast, 3 times, and then she softened, the way she does when she wants the moment to slide off the table without breaking. Luis, she said, I would never cheat on you. You're my home. It's the kind of sentence that should pin you to the earth. It hovered between us instead, light as dust. I wanted to believe it. I tucked it away in the part of me that collects reassurances, the same part that knows which passengers need a smile and which only want their stop called clean and clear. Days slid around us. The man didn't come Monday, he came Wednesday. I watched him in the blue-black light of 11,007, and my chest felt like it had a hand around it. When I spoke through the camera, he slapped his pockets as if he'd lost a lighter and said, Dude, chill, like my house was his yard and I was the one who had wandered in. I felt something mean and young rise up in me. Do not knock on this door again, I said. It's strange hearing yourself use the voice you use on the bus when someone decides the rules are a suggestion. He rolled his eyes. Then tell Maria to answer her phone. There are moments you look back on and think, that's when I knew. It wasn't the image or the Venmo or the smell in my car. It was the sound of a stranger using my wife's name like a tool he owned. Friday, at 10,058, I sat in the dark with my keys in my hand. If he came, I would open the door. I would look him in the face, and whatever I found there, I'd file away under necessary. But 10,058 became 11,012, and he didn't come. The space where he would have stood felt like a bruise you press to see if it still hurts. Saturday morning, the HOA sent out an email reminder about the monthly meeting, Monday at 7:30 in the clubhouse. The subject line made my pulse jump. Security and donation practices, new business. Porter liked his capital letters like they were guardrails. The agenda was attached. Item 3, late night visitor. Item 4, Suncoast Pets donation accountability. Deanna came by that afternoon with a container of empanadas she'd overbaked and still tasted pretty good. She stood in my kitchen like a sister and took a risk. I know I'm crossing a line, she said, but I saw him again, standing at your door. Luis, he knew exactly where to go. That's not random. I know, I said. You okay? No, I said. I felt the length of that honesty. I will be. She nodded like I'd given the correct answer on a test I hadn't studied for. If you need me Monday, she said, I'll sit right up front. Maria spent Sunday reorganizing the garage. I stood in the doorway with my coffee and watched her carry out a bag of dog food with a donor's name on it. Her hands were strong, her face serious. We were both trying to do something right in the wrong way. Where are those going? I asked. To a client, she said. Old lady with a shepherd mix. Can't lift big bags. I can help you drop them, I said. She looked at me and then away. It's not a good day. I thought good days were the point. She set the bag down and wiped her wrist across her forehead. You used to trust me by default, she said. What happened to that? The doorbell rang, I said. That's what happened. At the HOA meeting, the air conditioning worked too hard against the Florida heat. The metal chairs scraped on the tile in a chorus. People chatted about sprinklers and pool hours, the things that seem big until bigger things show up. Porter blew his whistle like we were still 12 and a dodgeball game had broken out. Order, he said. Let's talk business. First up, we've had a late-night visitor making the rounds. We take this seriously. Anyone got footage? I stood before I knew I was going to. My legs felt heavy and sure, the way they do when you've committed to a long walk and you know you'll get there because there's no other direction. My hands shook the tiniest bit as I set my phone on the table and cast the ring feed to the clubhouse TV. The first clip flickered up, my porch at 11,003, the man leaning in saying my wife's name. A noise went through the room, the low sound a group makes when something true and ugly arrives. I played the second clip, I played the third. Then I swiped to the photo of the plate in our chat and held it next to the freeze frame where his truck rolled away. P92. Even Porter's eyebrows went up. Maria sat in the second row. She had her hair down. She didn't look at me. Her knee bounced. Porter cleared his throat. Anyone know this man? A voice from the back. Looks like the guy who watched the brown dog on Maple. Another, he's parked by the pond a few nights, thought he was fishing. Fishing at 11, Deanna muttered, not softly. Before people could stack assumptions, a man stood up near the door. He wore a cap and a shirt with a logo I recognized from my Ring thumbnails, the shape of a golden retriever's head. He lifted his chin in a way that looked practiced. It was him. In the fluorescent light, without the porch shadows, his face looked younger and more ordinary, like a version of a face you'd forget. "That's me," he said. "Name's Evan." He paused, and the room took him in like a tide. "I don't want problems. I've been paying Maria to take care of my dog. Cash, sometimes, to keep it simple. If that's against the HOA rules, sorry. I thought it'd be fine." Maria's knees stopped bouncing. Her hands gripped the edge of her seat. "Cash to keep it simple," Porter repeated, and the words sounded like they had weight now that he had said them. "At 11 p.m.? Evan looked uncomfortable for the first time. "I work late," he said. "I was dropping off food once or twice, that's all." "Out of our garage?" I asked. I heard my voice through a long tunnel. He looked at me like I was a sign he hadn't expected. "Man, I don't know where she keeps the stuff. I don't ask. She brings it to the car sometimes. I give her something for her time." "Like dog food paid for by people who wrote their names on the bags," Deanna said, standing now too, anger making her taller. "Those aren't tips. Those are donations." Maria stood in a rush. The chair screeched loud in the room. "I never took anything that wasn't going to a dog," she said. "I swear." "That's not the issue," Porter said. "The issue is transparency. If donations are leaving, we want a log. If cash is changing hands for services in the community, we need permits. That's the boring part. The human part is this man standing here not knowing why another man is on his porch at midnight." In the back, someone coughed. The AC clicked louder like it was straining. Evan shifted his weight. "Look," he said, flicking his eyes to Maria and back to me. "I paid cash so we didn't have to use the apps. People judge on the apps. Neighbors see. This way it's private. No harm done." "No harm," I repeated, and the words tasted like tin. "You rang my bell 3 times. You told my house to tell my wife you stopped by. That's harm." "It's dog care," he said stubbornly, and the phrase sounded smaller each time it was used. Porter pointed with his pen. "This is going sideways. HOA isn't the morality police. But we are the people who live 10 feet from each other, and when things go wrong at 11 p.m., we're the ones who hear it through the walls. Maria, do you want to respond?" Maria looked at me finally. Her eyes were bright. "I wanted to help," she said. "It got messy. I didn't want to hurt you." "What did you want?" I asked. My voice dropped. "You could have poured it into a glass and passed it down the row." She swallowed. "To feel like I mattered, to feel chosen." Evan let out a breath that sounded like a laugh and decided against it. "This is not," he began, but Porter raised a hand. "We're done," Porter said. "Maria, no more night visits. If donations move, log them. Evan, no more doorbells. If I see your plate again at that hour, I'll call in a welfare check on that brown dog. We clear?" Evan nodded, jaw tight. He looked small now, his cap too big for the whole situation. He left, and the door closed with a soft click that sounded like a period, not an exclamation point. The meeting moved on to sprinkler timers as if nothing seismic had shifted. That's the insult of these nights. The world keeps needing you to care about water pressure. I sat and felt my heart beat against the inside of my ribs like it wanted out. Deanna squeezed my shoulder when she passed. Porter didn't look at me when he said, "Good of you to bring that in." At home, Maria and I stood in the garage with the door open to the night. The boxes and bags stared back like witnesses. Frogs sang in the retention pond, loud and relentless. "Say it," she said. Her voice was small and brave at the same time. "Whatever you're going to say." "Okay," I said. "I found steady like you find your feet after the bus takes a bump. No more half-truths with nice names. No more cash at midnight. No more boxes leaving without a list. You move back to your mom's for a bit. I get my head clear and my finances clean. We decide from there." "That's a lot of rules," she said, and the edges of her mouth trembled. "It's a lot of pain," I said. "I need space to not hate the part of me that still wants to protect you." Her eyes filled, and then she set her jaw the way she does when she's going to do something hard. "Okay," she said. "I'll go tonight." "You can go in the morning," I said. "You don't have to be dramatic." She laughed through her nose. "I already did dramatic," she said. "You just didn't see it." She packed with the quiet efficiency of someone who has practiced leaving without making a mess. I carried 2 bags to her car and put them in the trunk beside a folded blanket and a box of bowls. She looked at me over the roof like we were neighbors in a TV show about a better version of us. "I never meant to make you the bad guy," she said. "I never meant to be the guy who plays videos," I said. "Tell the donors I'm sorry," she said. "Tell yourself first," I said, softer than I felt. After she left, I sat on the garage step with the door halfway down like a slow curtain. I picked up each bag of food and lined it along the wall. I took a notebook from the shelf and wrote the names I could still read. I drove them back over the next week, one by one. People were surprised to see the bags reappear. Some were grateful, some confused. One woman hugged me and then apologized for hugging me. "You're doing the right thing," she whispered, like we were in church. I went to the bank and opened my own account. The teller asked if I wanted paper statements, and I said, "Yes, please," like I was ordering a life without secrets. I changed the garage code. I turned off the ring alerts after midnight because sometimes healing looks like choosing what not to watch. When anxiety woke me at 2 a.m., I drove the empty route in my head. The depot, the stop by the hospital, the left turn by the old citrus stand, with such detail I could almost smell the oranges. The mind can be a loyal dog if you train it kindly. Hank found me on my break and handed me a coffee without asking what I wanted. "You did right," he said. "It hurts anyway," I said. "Right and hurt aren't opposites," he said. "Sometimes they're twins." A week later, Maria texted a photo of a shepherd mix curled on a rug with the caption, "Finally sleeping through the night." The dog looked soft and safe and completely unaware of the things people do to feel loved. I typed and erased a few replies and then wrote, "Good job." "It was the truth I could offer," she wrote back. "I'm starting a spreadsheet for donations. I should have done that from the start." I stared at the screen a long time and felt something untangle one small knot. Porter emailed to say the HOA was designating a corner of the clubhouse for donation drop-offs with a ledger. "Transparency builds trust," he wrote, and it sounded like something on a motivational poster, but I didn't mind. Sometimes you need slogans to get you through the boring parts of doing better. On a Saturday morning in late September, I took our pit mix, churro, to the park by the bay. The humidity had decided to take a day off. Pelicans skimmed the surface like they were writing in a language only birds will ever read. A little girl pointed at Churro and asked if she could pet her, and I said yes and watched the way the dog closed her eyes when the tiny hand found the spot behind her ear. Love isn't a big speech most days. It's a small thing done well and often. Deanna jogged past and doubled back. "How's the bus man?" she asked. "Driving the route," I said. "Good." She looked at Churro and smiled. "She always did like your side of the bed better." I laughed for real then, the kind that makes your shoulders shake a little. It felt like the first time I'd laughed like that since the ring of a doorbell started running our calendar. The sound surprised me, and then it didn't. 2 months later, I stood in the kitchen on a Wednesday, and the ring notification buzzed at 11,001. My hand twitched out of old habit, but I didn't look. I stood there with the fridge open and ate a piece of cold chicken with my fingers, a small human act in a house that felt like mine again. When I checked the log in the morning, there was a raccoon sniffing the porch mat like it had lost something important. The ring light made its eyes 2 bright coins. I watched it pat away into the bushes and thought, we all look for soft places in the night. Maria and I met for coffee at a table outside a little cafe in Seminole Heights, neutral ground with murals and bitter espresso. She looked good tired around the eyes, but stronger in the spine. She handed me an envelope. Inside were receipts and a check. "For the donors," she said. "I told them I messed up. Some were kind, some were not. Either way, it's deserved." We talked about practical things. The house, the calendar, the holidays we'd divide like slices of a pie that used to be whole. When it was time to go, she reached out and touched my hand, a touch as light as static. "I miss you," she said. "I miss who we were," I said. "That's different." She nodded. "Maybe I can find a way to be the person you trusted by default. It might take me a while." "I hope you do," I said, "whether we use it or not." On the drive home, I passed the depot and waved at Hank without meaning to. I took the long way by the water. The bay threw back dull diamonds at the afternoon sun. I rolled down the window and let the air in because I could. In the garage, I hung a new whiteboard where the donation stacks used to hide. Across the top, I wrote in big letters, easy for anyone to see, "Outgoing," "Incoming." It looked like a ledger for a small life with large rules. It looked like a promise to try. Sometimes, late at night, I put the phone face down and sit on the porch without the camera telling me when to breathe. I listen to the frogs and the wind and the distant hum of other people's machines. The doorbell is quiet. I'm not cured. I still feel a flinch when 11 comes around. But it passes. And when it does, what's left is a kind of clean emptiness that feels like the space where something honest can be built. I thought the strongest moment would be the big reveal, the clubhouse screen, the room's intake of breath. It mattered. It was a pillar in the structure, but the strongest moments turned out to be smaller. The feel of a pen in my hand as I wrote donors' names, the click of a bank account opened with my signature, the weight of a bag returned, and a hug I didn't expect. Churro's warm weight leaning against my leg as if to say, "You're still here?" The man never came back after the meeting. I still see people like him sometimes when I announce stops and watch the doors open. Men who walk as if the ground owes them. Men who say other people's names like keys. It's not my job to judge them from a bus seat, and anyway, most of us take turns being the fool. But I know now what I didn't before. The distance between a small lie and a big wrong is shorter in the dark. You get there by thinking, "No harm done," in a voice that sounds like permission. If there's a moral, it's not clever. It's sturdy. Our house got safer when the truth came out on a bad TV in a room with too much air conditioning. My life got quieter when I traded suspicion for structure, fear for boundaries, blame for a careful list, and a key that clicks. The people on my side were the ones who sit close when you're being looked at, the ones who email about ledgers and stand up when the room tilts, the ones who pass you a coffee without asking what you take. I wasn't crazy, the video said so, but more important than the video was what came after it, the choice to do the boring work of mending. There's a kind of pride in that, the kind that doesn't swell your chest but steadies your step. So the doorbell that I didn't ring became a bell I needed to hear. It called the neighbors, it called the rules, it called a part of me out from under a soft lie. It was the sound of something breaking and the start of something else being built. Would you have shown the clips at the meeting or kept it private and handled it at home? Where do you draw the line between helping and hiding when cash and favors get mixed with trust? If you want more stories like this, stick around, leave a comment, and subscribe.